If natural resources alone determined industrial power, the global rare earth map would look completely different with today. But that is not what we observed in reality. The United States, as one of the largest rare earth deposits in the world, the Australia is one of the top producer globally, while Brazil and Russia also possess significant reserves. Now, however, none of these countries control the global rare earth supply chain. This is not coincidence, but a structural outcome of how modern industry actually works. According to data from the International Energy Agency and the US GS, the China accounts for roughly 60 to 70% of global rare earth mining, more than 85% of refining capacity, and over 90% of rare earth permanent magnet production. Among these figures, the last one is the most important because the permanent magnet are where the majority of value ultimately created. This leads to a critical distinction that often overlooked. Mining creates volumes, processing creates control, and manufacturing creates power. Most countries stop at the mining stage, while China built the entire industrial chain over several decades. A clear example is Mountain Pass mine in California, which was once the world's leading rare earth producer. For many years, however, its output had to shipped to China for processing before it could become usable materials. This means that a strategic material extracted in the United States still have to leave the country in order to be transformed into something industrial useful. This is not a resource problem, but an industrial capability problem. Another example is Australia's Liners Corporation, which is one of the few non-Chinese rare earth producers operating at scale. Even Liners has had to build a processing facility in Malaysia and continues to depend on parts of broader Asia supply chain. The reason is that refining rare earths is not just chemical process, but a complex industrial system that require infrastructure, skill, and accumulated experience. Now, if we compare this with China's approach, the difference becomes even clearer. Starting in the 1980s, China made a long-term strategic decision not only to mine rare earth, but also to invest heavily in separation technology, build a large-scale processing capacity, and developed downstream industries such as magnets and advanced materials. And over time, this created something far more powerful than resource ownership. It created ecosystem level control, and once such an ecosystem is formed, it becomes extremely difficult to replicate in a short period of time. This is because the system benefits from several reinforcing advantages. The first scale reduces cost, and China's processing costs are often significantly lower than those of new entrants. The second, decades of accumulated process knowledge cannot be easily purchased or copied. Third, integration across mining, refining, and manufacturing improved both efficiency and resilience. If we step back and look at the bigger picture, the global rare earth market is not just about the supply, but about the structural dependency. According to U.S. Department of Defense reports, many advanced defense systems relied heavily on rare earth materials, including F-35 fighter jet, precision guide weapons, advanced radar systems, and communication infrastructure. In the civilian world, electric, electric vehicle, wind turbines, and consumer electronics also depend on rare earth-based components. This creates a structural reality that modern industrial systems are deeply depend on a supply chain that is heavily concentrated. This is why governments have started to react. The United States has invested billions through the Inflation Reduction Act and defense funding to rebuild the domestic supply chain. While the European Union has launched the Critical Raw Material Act, and Japan has spent over a decade diversifying its sourcing strategy. However, there is an uncomfortable truth behind all of these efforts. The supply chain that were built over 40 decades cannot be built in five. This lies to the core conclusion of this episode. In modern industry, control doesn't come from resources, but from system. And system by their nature require time, coordination, and long-term commitment to build. In the next episode, we will go deeper into the consequence of this structure. If rare earth supply chain remain concentrated, what happened to the industry that depend on them, and where are the real bottlenecks hiding?